Hi there, Vanya.
Hi, Roger.
Okay, I have a guest that's going to sit in.
Okay.
And how are you doing? Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye. You can go.
Hi,
I mean,
Nina.
you're welcome to sit in too,
No,
but I'm sure you have. Hi there, Nina.
Hello, hello.
Okay, Nina. I'm going to have a guest joining us for this session. Her name is Samantha Bennett, and she lives in Toronto.
She lives where?
Lives in Toronto, Canada.
Really? So she might be a neighbor.
She's visiting here, and she has a nonprofit startup company working in crowdfunding and citizen science to help
Hey,
sue.
I would love to meet her.
Well, you are going to meet her, and to help sue big companies, who cause health damage to people, like the opioid crisis or asbestos. And so her idea is to crowdsource scientific expertise and citizen science to sue the companies earlier and more successfully when their product damages people. And
Roger, why are you hiding?
am I hiding?
Yes.
We cannot see your camera.
Aha.
You mean you think I'm a bot?
I think you are hiding. Now you are okay.
Well,
Hello,
Samantha's about to come back in the room. So I'm sorry, I see Alejandra has just joined us. Joel is there too. And so I'll shut up now and let Vanya run the meeting.
Yes.
And Samantha will be here in 2 minutes. She just stepped out for a minute.
Okay.
Oh, please
Hello,
don't.
Joel. Hello, Alejandra.
Hello, Nina,
Welcome.
Roger, Vania, Joel.
Hi, everybody.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Hello, sir.
Nice to meet you as well.
Where are you? Where are you?
Me?
And why are you?
Oh, Joel.
Oh, Joel. Sorry.
Where
The
am I?
background.
I'm inside a fusion nuclear reactor.
Okay.
Well, that's the best cure for cancer.
Thank you, sir. I'm trying.
Okay, let's just keep joking around before Samantha gets back, and then we can do introductions. So I just got back from a trip to Paris, France, where I gave a talk at the Pompidou Museum. And there's a deputy director that's trying to set up a small university in the Pompidou. And the topic of the conference was teaching differently. And my contribution was learning differently. How do we teach students to cheat well? So yes, when you take an exam, you should be able to use your cell phone and find the answer online. But maybe it's not the right answer.
We used to have
Roger.
exams on school where they let us like sit in pairs, and it was kind of like cheating because you were working with someone else. It never worked for me because they always were, I don't know, math exams or chemistry exams, and I'm not absolutely no good at them.
Okay,
So, Roger.
Nina, as you can see, Samantha is now sitting next to me
Hello,
without a
Samantha.
mask.
Hello. Hi, nice to meet you.
So, Roger, I used to give exams for quite a number of years that the exams had one question, an impossible question, and students were allowed to leave the classroom, go anywhere, call anybody, interact with anyone, use any resource, do whatever they had to do, collaborate, not collaborate, whatever was necessary in order to attempt to answer the question.
And
So yes, so my argument there is learning to cheat is a very important skill.
Cheating in 2022 will be a very different definition.
Yes.
I am very eager to meet our guest.
Yes, let's do that.
Oh,
But no, Alejandra is the guest.
Okay. Hi, nice to meet you too. Vania just told me like, hey, I work with this artist and people and everything, and I talked about you and they want to have a talk with you, and I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's try it.
So who are you and what are you interested in?
Okay, my name, as you know, is Alejandra. I'm 26 years old. I'm interested in engineering, but also like my hobbies are things like hiking, and also I practice boulder. I don't know how do you say it in English, but like going to the mountains and everything.
Yeah, bouldering.
Bouldering, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like the most. I also like movies, like not more like I like the kind of movies of Avengers and everything, but also like the ones that are boring. I like it very much.
Where do you live?
I live in Mexico City. I've been living here for all my life, so I'm always here. And also I have been also in Veracruz, but I don't know if you guys know where where Veracruz is.
I've been there.
Yeah? Oh,
Me
nice.
too.
That's a good place. Well, I hope you like it.
When I was an undergraduate student, I had a couple of trips driving to Mexico to buy magic mushrooms.
Oh, okay. Nice. We have
And
plenty.
no, I don't take magic mushrooms anymore.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Now
Okay.
Roger is teaching people to cheat.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a nice provocation that learning to cheat is an important skill, but how do you cheat honestly? How do you then you unpack the very narrow view, and I think Joel gave us a great example that in daily life, to get the answer to a problem, you don't lock yourself in a room and take an exam. You talk to people, you look up books, so teaching people to find the relevant information for what they're trying to do is considered cheating in an exam. And okay, Samantha, can you just introduce yourself to the group?
Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha Bennett. I've connected with Roger. He's recently become an advisor to a non-for-profit organization I've founded, focused on crowdsourcing scientific research on important emerging risk topics. So the idea is to host crowdsourcing challenges that involve expert scientists and subject matter experts, as well as citizen scientists, to engage in data collection programs and things of that nature, but with a particular focus on underserved emerging risk issues, finding the next asbestos, finding the next dangerous product that we're all exposed to, but we don't see industry really paying attention to for funding research.
So Samantha has also worked as a litigation lawyer, raising money to sue companies like the companies that are responsible for the opioid crisis. The companies knew there was a problem, but they still paid doctors to give out free drugs to get their patients addicted. And her argument is, and her startup company, that we can actually anticipate those things and sue the companies much earlier and much better. That's my version of her narrative. And jokingly, a company that we all know of knew perfectly well that their product was damaging the minds of teenagers who were committing suicide as a result of using the product. Instagram. Well, the company knew about it for the last 10 years. We could have been collecting the data 10 years ago and saved a lot of people's lives who committed suicide as a result of overuse of Instagram.
Great.
Well, no, great, horrible.
It's horrible. It is
Great,
horrible.
as in
One of the horrible.
we have the tools now. I mean,
What?
I was helping Nina by saying great, as in we have the tools now to fight them.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want to hear more about Alejandra. It is such a really great thing to have somebody. Number one, here we sit in the north of America, and you are, both of you, from Mexico. It's another place. It has some other questions, and it's very important that they know more about what your life is like.
Okay. So, like, I don't know if this is going to be like you only want to like me talking about myself, or
Okay, hold on, Alejandra.
Talk about yourself.
Hold on a second. Vanya, are you recording?
Yes.
Okay, so is it okay, Alejandra, if we record this conversation and then Vanya will put it online? If
Yeah.
you don't want it put online, you just say no at the end when she asks for your permission.
Okay.
Yeah, but even if she puts online, you can discuss it before she puts online, so that it doesn't put anything online with Alejandra doesn't want to.
So let me start by asking Alejandro a question. And
Okay.
so Alejandro, what keeps you up at night?
Like nothing, because I get really a good sleep. Like I'm a good sleeper, so like when I
So
go
no worries, no
like
anxiety, no.
yes, I have anxiety and I have worries, but like from when I was younger, like since I was a child, I never let the worries go to my sleep time. I don't know, like I try not to do it. Like sometimes maybe an exam, an important exam, or maybe a problem in my family, in the health of my family or something may worry me, but I always try to sleep well, because if not, I get migraine and I know that's worse. So like I can sleep well, but like the things that worry me are like my family, my family's health. I always worry about my family's health. Like my father got COVID last year, and that was difficult time because only my mother and I could help him, because nobody should be near us since there was a risk. So things like that are the things that worry me the most. But like I try to never complicate my sleeping time. I don't know, like I think that's the most important thing to me. Like they are okay. I also worry. I used to worry about many things. Then I went to therapy, and then I realized that the problems are not as big as they seem. Sometimes you should only like plan something to solve the problem, but nothing should get like in your head that much that you don't sleep.
So that sounds. I didn't necessarily mean it literally, like what prevents you from sleeping, but it's interesting to hear you talk about your priorities, like what matters most. And it sounds as if health, family is really a high priority, and that you went through some experience there that was challenging. Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that, or do you mind?
Okay, yeah. Well, since the pandemic began here in Mexico, I think that we got locked down on March 2020. So even in my work, well, I didn't tell this, but I work at Walmart. So like since mid-March, they told us like you should go and work from home, not come back to the offices till we tell you to come back. So I'm living with my parents right now, I'm actually about to leave my house in some 2-3 months maybe, but like the pandemic got in the middle. So when everything started, we were like, okay, we have to take care of ourselves. We actually locked down, like we never asked for anything online, and now we tried the supermarket online. We were always in the same house. It was difficult, obviously, because my father and I used to work like out from home, and it was a difficult experience. I actually had an aunt living with us because she also got sick. So we were 4 people here, and I have a brother. He's actually working on Facebook in San Francisco. So he was panicked like 2 weeks before we locked down, because the lockdown in San Francisco was like 2 weeks before here in Mexico. So we were like really trying to lock down ourselves, and there were like maybe 9 or 10 months we were living all together. Obviously, we had many problems, discussions. It was difficult, yes, but like we always knew the priority was us to stay safe from COVID. So suddenly my parent is a car salesman. So he started going to the place where he worked to maybe get some sales. So yeah, he went. We didn't know how he got the COVID, but we assumed that maybe it was because he was going back to the place where he worked. So maybe it was fine. At the end of October of 2020, he got sick. He actually made some tests to check if it was COVID. Those were negative. And then he continued being sick. So it was like weird because he was going worse, but the test was saying it was negative. So we were worried. And, you know, my brother was like, you should buy an oximeter and everything. And he took one night he was like breathing heavily. So my mother was worried, and she told him like we should go to the hospital. It was like really I don't know, like we panicked a lot. So yeah, we went to the hospital. He stayed there like 15 days. We couldn't see him, and at the end he got recovered. Well, he got well. So at the end, yeah, we took him from the hospital, and I was the one attending him in the house. Nobody went inside. And then like after 1 or 2 months, everything was going well again. Like he got well, and yeah, he got out of COVID, but it was really stressful. I think like it's one of the worst experience I have had.
Yeah, I'm very sorry that you had to go through that, and I'm glad to hear that it worked out positively for you. That's quite an experience to have.
Okay, Alejandra, I'd like to jump in about, you mentioned how well you sleep.
Yeah.
And what I put in the text chat is the concept of sleep art. Can you make art whilst you're sleeping? And I just saw an amazing sleep artwork in Paris at the Pompidou Center. And Joel and Nina will no doubt have other examples. So I walked into the room where the installation was, and there was a tank of water with light shining on it. And waves kept happening. And then, of course, because of the light on the floor, you could see the shadows of the waves. Then, when you walked further into the installation, you looked, there was a mattress on the floor, and there was a naked man asleep.
Okay.
And what they had done is they had sleep deprived him for 3 nights. He had had no sleep for 3 nights. And then they put him in the gallery with a brain monitor on his head. And whilst he was sleeping, the brain signals made the art work.
Okay.
Whilst he was sleeping, his brain signal. So if you didn't know and just looked at the installation, you would have no idea how this artwork was created. Well, it was this young man sleeping, and his brain waves, because he had had no sleep for 3 days, were very unusual, very chaotic, and so on. So I think, Nina, Joel, do we know other sleep artists who've made artwork whilst they were sleeping?
I don't know, but I don't know about the scientific background of this, and I don't know whether there was any control about what sort of brainwaves do you have. Did they put it beside?
Yes, no, they had a technical team. It was state-of-the-art brain monitoring cap, monitoring brain activity in different parts of the brains.
And
not
how
just
creative did you find the artwork?
Well, all I can tell you is when I walked to the room and looked at it, I found it interesting because I don't know about you, but when I go into a park and I see a pond and the light is reflected off it, and it kind of captures your attention, right? When you go outdoors and you look at the seaside, you look at the waves and the sun is shining on it and it's kind of sparkling and jumping up and down. Now, I don't think it was the most profound piece of art I've ever seen, but the minute I knew that it was an artist sleeping who was creating the art, I went back and looked at it, and oh my goodness, right now it's his left brain that's active, and all the waves are coming from the left of the tank. Now it's his right brain that's active, and all the waves. So you can hear me talking about it now. And that's what an artwork is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to change the way a human thinks. And I now remember something, and I'm going to try and find other examples of artwork that was made whilst people slept.
It begs the question, though, of intentionality and authorship. I mean, who is the author of this work? Is it the person asleep, or is it the designers and engineers who compose the framework to capture the brain waves and represent them? Or is it a collaboration? I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, that's a very good point. So it could have been a rat's brain instead of a human brain. Did that matter?
Right.
Did it matter whose brain it was that was triggering the artwork, or was the machine the artist?
And is there particularly anything interesting about the brain, that particular brain? I mean, there's obviously been a lot of artists who've worked with neuroscience and.
Okay, so let me just mention one thing that I think everybody in the room was aware of. Now, having a naked man in the gallery in France, which is a sexist country, normally it would be a naked woman. And no, it was a naked man this time. And he was sound asleep. He wasn't snoring, but I mean, he was just out because he'd had no sleep for 3 nights. And so we didn't wake him up. But there was that sort of strange moment, because when you walked in the gallery, you couldn't see him. It's only after you walk around to the other side, et cetera, that you saw this naked man lying on the floor with all this stuff connected to his head. And then then there was someone else was explaining the mechanism.
I think
before they cut off our Zoom meeting, we should ask more about our guest, Alejandra. Tell us more about what you are working and tell us more about your other parts of your life.
Okay, my other parts of my life. Okay, I don't know where to start, but like other important things to me are like in work. I think that I will start with work. It's been always like an important thing to me. Like I have been raised to be like responsible and good grades and everything. So I don't know, like work has always been where it was like the most important thing, like to achieve things and everything. But when you grow up, or I think it's because I have been growing up that I realized that you should make a balance in everything. So before work, it was like I have to be maybe a CEO or something like that. And now it's like I have to enjoy what I am doing and giving it a purpose. So right now, like I have been working for, Walmart. That sounds like, oh, capitalism and everything, but I actually realized that it's a company that I like to work for. I don't know, like in US or in Canada, but I think like here in Mexico, they try like their goal is it's to have all like lower prices, and I think it's the most important supermarket chain in Mexico. So it's nice to work for that, but then when I go inside, I realize that they have like a foundation. I don't know if it's the word, but like this ONG maybe, like they try to give food to people that doesn't have how like food to eat every day. They have like programs to maybe make a small organization or a small companies grow, and also they commercialize their products. So I realize now that I'm in a company that I like, that even if obviously they want to get money, obviously, because what company doesn't want? I like working for that kind of company where they also like they're always teaching us new things. Like from college, I don't know, like I don't use anything from college because all that I have learned inside the company is what I use for my work. So
what are you doing exactly?
Okay, for 2 years I was a commercial KPI data analyst. Like we were going with categories, like Walmart has categories, maybe milk, maybe diapers, I don't know, like many categories, right? So we used, like when I was in my first position, I used to analyze like who were the good suppliers for Walmart, like the ones that give us good cost so that we could give good prices. Also, we evaluated like promotions and markup, markdowns, like many things, many commercial things. And then when we analyzed all the category and all the suppliers, we made recommendations. We also used to make presentations for negotiations with the suppliers. Right now, what I like most is, well, like I have always liked logistics. So when I got inside Walmart, like when they gave me the job, like I was okay, but it was not about logistics. So I decided to look for another position, and now I am working in that analysis of the supply chain. So it's like also analyzing data and also like looking for KPIs and everything, but now about transportation, also the service of e-commerce. So we look for improving our delivery times. Also, I actually started making some apps inside the company. So I didn't think that I was going to do that when I was in university or in college, but now I have learned many things.
Well, maybe other people want to ask questions.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Alejandra, but I'm not going to ask the question also to Samantha.
Okay.
So who invited you to this meeting? Who did you know?
Vania.
Vanya. Okay, thank you, Vanya. Do we need to leave the meeting to come back yet?
We have 9 minutes left.
Okay, so I think we can do this thing. So as Vanya will have explained to you, Alejandra, our group is called PPP. That doesn't mean we urinate a lot. It means post-pandemic provocateurs. And we do not use guns to change society. We use ideas.
Okay.
So, and provocative ideas. So one of the ideas we worked on for a while is, because of climate change, maybe we should give plants the right to vote. Maybe trees should have a vote also. Oh dear, there are more trees than people. We're outnumbered. Oh dear. Anyway, so it's a joke, but it also makes you think about how our voting system does not consult all the living things that are affected by what humans do. So I guess my question for you, Alejandra and Samantha, do you have a stupid idea that you'd like to throw to try and cause desirable change in the world around you? If you could change the world tomorrow morning, you have one simple idea you would throw out. Samantha, you can jump in too.
An idea of the trees could vote, is that?
Well, I don't know. So yeah, no. I don't know, Joel or Nina, you want to explain the idea of autopoietic weapons?
Joel is much more literate than I am.
Autopoietic. Well, I think the issue is we have these very complex systems of how things are done, you know, politically, economically, culturally, socially. All of them are kind of dependent on their specific context, environments, locations in the world. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about how do you poke at those systems to cause them to react in such a way that they, you know, a small change can slowly but surely emerge and become transformative. You know, like you seed an idea that can be something that can grow and change over time and morph or evolve into a more complex proposition that then starts to cause, you know, significant change. And I think, you know, we look at the pandemic and we ask ourselves, well, you know, we're in this really crazy time when we have an opportunity to rethink how we're doing everything, you know? And I think it's so interesting, Alejandra, to hear you talk about Walmart and working there, and you know, the kind of things that you're working on in terms of improving supply chain, for example. And of course, Walmart has this, you know, worldwide reputation as being this capitalist, crazy company that does much evil in the world, but also at the same time, you know, you find this place within that system that you can operate. And so if you could make a change in Walmart, what would it be?
At Walmart, well, this has more to be about my job because like they have data, but like they don't organize their data. So I think like the one thing I would change from Walmart would be that. But like the values and everything, like I'm really okay with them because they actually care about the people. So
Okay.
I think it's more about my job, like they organize their systems.
Okay,
Yeah.
Samantha, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think an interesting, what was the type of idea we were speaking about earlier? You kind of got me thinking, Alejandra, on the data piece. What if tomorrow every organization shared their data with everyone? What would our world be like? And obviously that comes to my interest with open source, but we see a lot of organizations doing it, but how about if there was no walls anymore?
Okay, so, you know, there's a nice thing. The air we breathe is free. We do not pay to breathe air. Why do we have to pay for data? Why do people own data? They can't own air. Now, water, unfortunately, in a lot of countries, Coca-Cola now owns the water supply. And so you can't get free water when you go to the well anymore. Okay, very good.
Well,
So,
like a pharmaceutical company, of course, you know, right? I mean, take COVID as the example, you know, companies that own the virus,
own the virus.
vaccine data, you know, yeah.
Which company owns the virus?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That very well could be true.
Well, any lab leak?
But you know, I mean, it's this issue around profit and control versus, you know, this change, Samantha, that you're suggesting. Where's the profit and control?
Okay, I think our 9 minutes are up, Vanya.
We still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay,
Right.
so you speak. How would you? What provocation would you make in 2 minutes?
Speak.
In 2 minutes,
I have one.
Vanya.
Vanya has something.
Maybe like for every action we do for humanity, we should also make an action for nature because we think we own this earth and I don't think so. So, but like many people feel like they're owning the world. So I would make that action. Like if you are going to cut a tree, you should plant another tree somewhere else. Or like if you are going to build your home, you should put some plants like and take care of them in your house so that you don't destroy the nature.
Here in Leon, they built a mall in one of the richest areas of Leon. Well, they're building it, but the thing is, it's a place called Cárcamos where they hold lagoons and water and vegetation, and it's been going on for around 4 years. And I saw very few collectives actually fighting against it, so it got like the contract got signed at the end, and the only thing the CEO, or I don't know, the one in charge could actually do was like, okay, so we're building it, but at the top we're making like a rooftop, we're like putting plants and ducks, and that's it. And it was like, man, you're taking these ducks their home. Why, like, I don't know, maybe build somewhere else and leave these ducks their own home, and don't just like relocate them. I don't know, it didn't make sense at all to me, but yeah, they're building it, and it's like that in most cases.
They were treating the ducks as employees.
I don't think that we'll get something good of it because we also have a mall. I don't know if I should finish my sentence before Roger
Yeah.
comes back.
Might
But
as
yeah, the thing is, we also have a mall near my house where they put like um I forgot the name of it. But yeah, like they put water like fountains and they put koi fishes in them. And it's been open for around 4 years. And in those 4 years, I've seen countless people, most of them children, falling into these fountains because they want to grab the koi. And what life can a koi have in a mall? It should be swimming somewhere in Japan. I don't know.
Okay, whilst we were busy doing something else, Samantha came up with a question that she'd like to ask Joel. So Samantha, can you come here?
Oh, hi, Joel. I just wanted to know what you do and hear more about your work.
Oh, I'm professor emeritus at San Jose State University, which means I don't do anything.
Okay.
No, but you have this amazing initiative you're working on.
I'm currently working on a large project, a multi-year project on land use and sense of place issues. The project we're working on right now is a exploration of the Gila River, which is a 600-mile river from the southwest New Mexico to Yuma, Arizona. That's just very contested river in terms of politics and economics and its status as a wild and scenic river, but it's one of the most abused, endangered river systems in the United States. So we're doing research and work on that. We have a mobile lab that we're going to take on the road and
a mobile lab. Explain that a bit.
I have a 23-foot Airstream trailer that's being converted into our studio for recording and broadcast and streaming, but also has all of the equipment that we'll use for environmental testing.
So you'll be collecting data.
We'll be collecting data and sort of developing these kind of speculative narratives around untold stories of the river system. For example, there was a German POW camp located along the river from World War II.
Right,
and,
so historical as well,
yeah.
not just present day.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and then we're also looking at this simulation of Native American Indians tribes by the Mormon Church.
Right.
In that area, because that was the first place the Mormons thought they would build.
Okay, so Joel, I might connect you with Samantha, because if you have a mobile lab that can collect data, that would be a wonderful opportunity for some citizen science.
Oh yeah.
That would connect, and that, Samantha is trying to develop the vocabulary, but the idea is the crowdsourcing is both highly expert scientists and highly expert citizens. And so, and how do you get them to work together on a difficult problem? And yes, there'll be a financial prize if you solve the problem. So I think the idea of mobile labs is a great idea. And we need more of them where you can listen to the voice of the river directly.
Yeah, I totally agree. And my wife is a scientist, so she is the partner, collaborator in this project. So we've got that little bit of balance going on there. But I also wanted to kind of return, Samantha, this be interested in your thoughts on this as well, but also Alejandra, to turn it back to you. And Vanya as well. Vanya mentioned the word contract, I think, in when she was talking about this mall that was being built or shopping area. And I was thinking, well, one provocation going forward might be something like, let's abolish the idea of contract, period. If we got rid of contracts completely, what would the world begin to look like?
I believe that's a double sword. How do you say that?
Yeah. Double-edged sword.
Double-edged, yes, double-edged sword. Because there's many places in Mexico where people don't have contracts and they just let you go like that. You don't have by legal requirements, you should have like money. I don't know how to explain it, but it's money given to you by the end of the year, according to the time you've worked with the company. And if you don't have a contract, they can't give you that money. And they're like just waiving that legal requirement, and you're not getting money that you've worked for. So there's good and bad stuff about contracts, because maybe if you didn't have a contract, you could, I don't know, leave your house before the year is done, or
Yeah,
I don't have any more contracts.
But there may be a difference between having and honoring agreements and, social agreements, and being responsible and doing what's right, as opposed to being obligated by law to perform in a particular way.
Okay, so
Because I believe most of us know what's right, but there's also people that believe that what's right is actually not very, I mean, not as in moral or as in religious stuff, but just as in person to person, what should be right. I don't know how to say this. This is getting really philosophical. But I believe there's people that actually believe that what's right affects other people. I don't know if I made myself clear.
Okay, let me just jump in. So I guess the provocation is, let's abolish contracts because they're part of the evil system that we live in. Let's return. The world functioned very well before contracts were invented, and even before cash was invented. And for a while, I did a lot of reading on gift exchange economies. So before they invented the idea of cash and money, people lived perfectly well. And if you raised sheep and you needed vegetables, you went to see a vegetable farmer and you gave them some sheep in exchange for vegetables. And you had to agree on what was equivalent. And so, a gift exchange economy is you don't use contracts. You work with other people and you exchange things, and you try and calculate the value of sheep and the value of vegetables, and how many vegetables do I give you to get one sheep. And so I think the provocation on the let's abolish contracts is worth thinking about a little bit. And as Vanya said, a lot of people live and die in employment where they don't have a contract. And, the typical thing with poor people in Dallas is, oh yeah, you've got a job. Okay, we don't need you on Friday. Oh, you mean I'm not going to get paid because you don't need me? So, there's no agreement on how many hours a week they're going to get paid. They just, okay, come today, we'll pay you for today. Oh, don't come today.
Well,
and so they don't know how much money they're going to make in a month. And the company just says, okay, no, I don't need you this week. Oh, I do need you this week. And, that's a world without contracts, which is very damaging to the people who, are being used by the company.
But perhaps there's an argument to be made around contracts are a form of suppression of the populace and are really there to enable and support corporations primarily to do the business that they do in order to keep employees in the positions that they are in such a way that they can advantage them to their benefit. And, you know, it's a good thing. I mean, I see that, I understand the double-edged sword piece, but if one begins to imagine a world without contracts, the question then becomes, you know, what becomes the substitute for the contract? You know, what new forms might agreements take? From the
Okay, so I
handshake,
just put
from
in the
barter.
chat, I will ask Judge Marshall the question that if we ended all contracts, what would we put in their place that was more ethical and moral?
Samantha, any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm faltering between the double-edged sword aspect. and I do think that we have to be careful when we define contracts. In some areas of some states and some jurisdictions, even a verbal agreement can be considered a contract, right? So I guess the question is, we look historically more to the median of how those contracts were made, maybe in times where they were less formal and more verbal, that was more conducive to creating, better rapport between the parties, and creating more kind of reciprocal relationship. And as they've gone formalized over time and had codified law to, create certain restrictions and around them, then that's kind of created a more removed and circumstance where we're thinking about the risks more than kind of, what kind of beneficial relationship can evolve between the two parties. So that's kind of the
Samantha, you are living in Toronto?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm from
No,
Toronto.
I'm in Toronto. I'm speaking from Toronto.
Okay. Yeah.
And you are interested in citizen science?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know there is quite a big environmental citizen science movement here, which works with University of Toronto?
I'm not very familiar, so I'd love to hear more.
So I don't want to take place here, but Roger has my email. If you ever want to, I just send you the information.
And no, I'll send you all Samantha's. So just for your information, I have just agreed to serve an advisor to her startup nonprofit that will focus on crowdsourcing and citizen science to anticipate and sue companies before they kill too many people.
Okay. That's okay. I just wanted to say that, but I don't want to take more time.
No. And I have to disappear. I have to disappear in 5 minutes. So I'm going to propose that I just leave the meeting with Samantha and the rest of you finish the conversation. So
thank you, Roger. And you tell us about Paris next time.
Bye.
So, Alejandra, you didn't have to have a contract when you were facing the turmoil of COVID and your family, and you're taking care of and being a supportive family member. Do you feel there was it was just simply understood that that's how it would work, or that you had to step forward and say, okay, well, this is what needs to be done, I will do it?
I think it was just like, we have to do it right now. Like when he was getting worse, my father, we just said like, okay, let's do it. And actually, I think it's more because of how I was raised, because I always, since I was a child, my grandparents from my mom's side, they were the ones living in Veracruz. So all my life, she was for them like unconditionally, like no matter what, if they got sick, like she would take care of them. So I was raised with this idea, and it's not like somebody had to tell me like you have to take care of your father, but I realized like, okay, who will take care of him if it's not us, right? And like it's about the values, like, you know, I love these people, so I will take care of them. You also have limits. You cannot give your life entirely for everyone, but like if you can do it, it's just do it. Nobody had to tell me, and yeah, there was not a contract, and if I didn't do it, like maybe somebody was going to get angry, but like they wouldn't hate me at all or everything.
Do you think it's possible for a company like Walmart or any company to have that unconditional love for its employees?
Right now, I don't think so. I think the problem with not having contracts in these days is that like we're many people, and everyone has its unique ideas of what is good and what is right. And if there weren't contracts like for employees, like companies maybe will exploit their employees, and I don't know, like it's something with a contract the employee can defend itself, well, him or herself. But like if there weren't contracts, maybe also people would do whatever they want and not considering other people, only considering themselves. So I would work only maybe 1 hour a week and do whatever you want. And then if they need me, I would say like, oh no, I'm on vacation. So sorry, I have to go. And there would be like, the consequence would be like, if everyone in the company thinks this way, like the company would not have money. But like if you don't have money because now we are in a world that we don't have contracts or money or only agreements maybe, how would you pay people? Like what Walmart maybe can give people products, because also like they're retailers, but other basis, and maybe it work, but like in today's world, I don't think it will work.
Alejandra, I am not familiar with Walmart or the company. And so it's an international company. And do you know how much independence locally, the Mexican part, or even within the Mexico, the local area, the city has in terms of organizational and duties and that sort of effort? Do you know that at all? Did you hear me?
So now I can hear you, but like you were saying that you're not familiar with the company, but then I didn't hear anything.
No, I just know it's an international company, but I was wondering how much independence within Mexico locally has the company. So what's in terms of rules and regulations and policies? Do you know that?
Okay, like many years ago, I think they were more, the company was more independent in Mexico than from US. The home office is in US, but like there were some corruption stuff, and suddenly many stores were open like with no regulations. So there was a case that it was so big that it scaled to the US, and actually there was like judgment, or like they had to do it with lawyers and everything. So now I think it's like the company, it's independent from US, but like we have to have some regulations, like they will give us the ethical course of Walmart every 6 months, and you can, like, they will constantly tell us like you cannot do this and this and this and this because you can damage the company image, and if you do it, you are instantly fired. So yeah, I have seen many people fired because they are not doing legal things, and we cannot even accept gifts from suppliers because it means like there will be corruption there. Like, I will give you some tickets for this concert, or I will buy you this car, like friendly, but like you cannot even accept, you can only accept their products to try them maybe, but like only for that, and only few people have the permission to do it. So yeah, maybe we're kind of independent in operations and in our negotiations, but like they will give us all the values, and well, they will bring from US all the regulations, I think. Like, yeah, we are not 100% independent, but but we can work like by ourselves, but with their values. I think that's
what about cybersecurity and security? Do you have some independence there?
Yeah, we have our own. Well, no, actually, like we have our own team of security, but also some software are controlled from India because like they centralize all the software. Well, yeah, the software, how to say it, like the permissions and everything, they will have a team in India that will give permissions for all the countries. So they have centralized that. And actually, yeah, that's one thing that we're not that free enough. Yeah.
Independence is a questionable idea anywhere. So
yeah.
Well, it's particularly complicated when you have one of the largest companies in the world and one of the most profitable companies in the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very complex system of
I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I'm sure of, you know, international, I mean, both the international relationships, but regional, local, you know, national. I'm sure it gets very contractual.
Yeah. If you eliminate contracts, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I made that proposition, who am I? I know nothing about any of that stuff. But there's something about the idea of contracts, of the writing, and I understand this. You know that if we say, well, let's agree and we shake hands, that's a form of contract. You know, yeah. and sort of historically and traditionally, even the bartering system that Roger referred to was a kind of form of contractual agreement, I suppose. But when we look down the road to where things are maybe headed, it starts to get really murky for me, because now we have the blockchain, and we're redefining what doing a transaction actually means. And who owns the transaction, and even on the level of purchasing or buying, that culture is changing too, out from under us. And so I think it does sort of beg the question of what do we mean by contract, and how does it look going forward in this sort of post-pandemic world? Is it going to get increasingly opaque and where nobody understands anything, but everybody's we're all under contract to behave and operate in a certain way, even if we don't know it, even if it's just completely, it becomes this umbrella under which everything that we do has to be navigated. And how do we step, is it important to ever step outside of that, to be the outsider?
And how far can you step outside?
And how far can you step outside before you're thrown in jail? Here's an example, I think, just came to mind. Here in San Jose, in California, we have a huge homeless population. This is one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country, one of the most expensive places in the US to live. You know this because your brother lives in San Francisco.
Right?
There. Yeah. It's incredibly expensive to live here. And there is this huge homeless population that is not really part of that economy. And there are encampments just down the street from my house where hundreds of people live in these makeshift little communities that have their own economies, their own, they're operating somewhat kind of off of the grid and have kind of created their own transaction space. And I think that's sort of interesting when we look like going forward, is there a world in which that becomes more prevalent, where there are just a lot more communities of, there's the Walmart transaction space, and then there's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying exactly, but it's fascinating to me to think about how this all might look differently going down the road, and how, who are we responsible to in terms of who are we responsible to? Are we responsible to the companies that we work for? Are we responsible to our families? Are we responsible? How does that shape up? Is my family in the blockchain? I don't know.
Not only that, you talk about homeless people in San Jose, California. And I am sure that if you go to homeless people in some place, I don't know, in Nigeria or something,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if not 10 times, it's 100 times worse.
Yes.
And if you look at the whole world, not the globe, I mean, the percentage of those people are so much higher than anything else. And so where are we going?
Yeah, good point. Very good point. I mean, just look at Belarus this past week, or past few weeks.
Gosh.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just an incredible travesty that's happened there, where that population is being, the immigrant population is being used
Totally.
as a transaction.
And also strategically, if this would happen, not if Belarus would be bordering not Poland, but Schweiz, Switzerland. I mean, it would be a different story. But in east of Vienna, the two countries are Poland and Hungary, who are also, not necessarily the most democratic places. And then they come, I mean, the whole thing is just terrible.
Yeah.
was about to say that in the matter of contracts, when I was in high school, my father started having issues with his boss. He suddenly stopped paying and then paying when he wanted. And as he opened 2 restaurants and my dad was in charge of the 2 restaurants, he was like, okay, so the restaurant is getting on its feet. You need to be patient. So on about for a year, I think, they made like a spoken contract that his boss was going to give us his house. Like it was going to be ours. So we lived there for a year. My father invested around 10,000 pesos in changing things that were really old, just making it livable. And one morning we go out to school and there were about 4 lawyers outside of the house, and they were there to tell us that we needed to give them the house because his boss owed the house to the bank and he didn't tell my father. So just like that, we lost the house, and the next year it was like a hurricane because I believe we lived 8 months in an apartment. My father had to change jobs just to pay the apartment. We moved to a second apartment. He lost his job. That's that's why we live in Leon now, because it was just a hurricane of everything going wrong in just maybe 2 or 3 years, and all because one person couldn't be nice enough, human enough, I don't know, to tell him that, yeah, you're going to have this house, but it has this issue.
And there's an assumption underneath all of this is that the legal system is somehow equitable and fair, and treats people with the same dignity. And that clearly is absolutely 100% false.
Totally.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, like, rich people, like, they manage to get out of the rule and don't pay taxes and everything. So even with the contract, they're not respecting contracts. They're just thinking about themselves. But like, if there weren't contracts, I think it would be worse. Like, if they give maybe a minimum amount of taxes without contracts, they won't give anything because they don't care about anyone but themselves. So, like, yeah, I think this subject about contracts, as Vania said from the beginning, it's a double-edged sword. I don't know, like, we are not going to get like to a point because it's like you can think advantages from one side, but there are also many disadvantages. So I don't know. It would be difficult not living without contracts. And it's getting complex, like more complex. All the system, the online, the crypto. Well, we say crypto monedas, but I think it's crypto money or cryptocurrency.
So are you saying that you kind of feel like the contracts are there, perhaps they're needed because they can protect the
yes, but
poor and the not so wealthy, but if you're wealthy, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems like a very unfair system to me.
Yeah, and the problem is that if we go very philosophical, it's like, who has the reason, who knows what's right and what's wrong, and how to define everything. Like, it's really complex. I don't know who
Oh, yeah, you know, we have a contract here in the U.S. In terms of how we elect our president.
Yeah.
Oh.
So at the very highest level, we see that it just doesn't matter that you know, an individual can say, well, you know, that's a false system.
Yeah.
Help me, Samantha. Help. What are we going to do?
That as wrong as it sounds, I will not vote in the next elections because it's discouraging, it's disheartening that you believe in something, and I don't know, maybe you can give this president, the candidates a chance, and then they go out there and it's just like, okay, everything I told you I was going to do, I'm not going to do.
Or I do it differently.
Yeah, and it's awful.
Because that's what your president does. He said, I'm going to do this, and he does some things, but they are not working.
He,
I think, from the outside.
the worst thing, I believe the worst thing he's done these few months, it's just like believing that his government created the term of femicides. It's like, it's been going for years. And at the beginning, he was like, okay, so feminists are trying to spot my image. And then he was like, I created the term femicide. And it's like, no, you didn't. That's a lie.
About himself.
And then he goes out and creates the Maya train, which is going to kill hundreds of species. And it's like, for what? For tourism? Go to Cancun. That's it. You can. I mean, I went to Cozumel one time and I saw fishes. I was happy. That's tourism. You don't have to be on a train.
Yeah, and actually, I think like our country has like many things to visit. You don't need this train, but it's more about like a little child like wanting really so much these things. Like this guy converted president after being like 12 years trying to do it, and finally he's there, and now he's like, everything that it's wrong, it's because of past presidents, and now I'm going to do whatever I want. Like, actually, there's something funny about contracts. There are people who will like, they call them huachicoleros. And these are people like, they will make a hole to the pipes, the oil pipes, so that they will get gasoline and then sell it for them, like the money directly for them, right? So suddenly he said like, I will end with this, and there was a huge problem because many people couldn't have gasoline to go to work because this guy will say like, oh yeah, this has no sense, like, you know, like there's a lot of problems, and these people that do that, it's because of necessity, I think. Also, yeah, it's like they will do it because they need money, and there are bigger problems like maybe healthy, like health issues, but like national health issues. Then came COVID, and he's giving more importance to other things, like these guys, the huachicoleros, like, and now they're doing it again. So he didn't stop these actions. He only stopped it for 2 or 3 months, and then they returned to do it. So what's the point with this guy?
Vanya, we have less than a minute.
Less than I just came to say goodbye, one thing, and the other is that either if it's graphic design or political science, I don't know, you have to do a study first of what people need. And I believe that the government is doing things just on spite. Like, okay, I'm going to build this hospital just because I want, and they don't actually try to check if people need a hospital. Maybe there are risk areas where people need lights, playgrounds, I don't know, stores, and they go and build an airport or a mall. And it's like, this is not what people need to get a better living.
Well, maybe this is where Samantha's work in citizen science and the crowdsourcing of data and open data can play a role where where we the public take it into our own hands to create the evidence that's needed to drive those kinds of solutions, because they in my view, they simply don't come from the top down.
No top down, but
Ever,
this might
ever.
be the first steps towards.
Yeah.
So I would really like to thank Vanya to bring in Alejandra. And I thank you because for us, it is very important to hear voices.
Yes.
For me, it is. And I think for Joe too and Roger too, it's very important. And this is the one thing which keeps you a little bit sane. Because, other people, how they live and what they think and so forth. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I second that. It was a really great conversation. Wonderful to meet you. Vanya, thanks so much for inviting Alejandra to join us today. So very great. I was glad to see Samantha. That was kind of fun too.
Thank you, Ale, for still being my friend after 10 years of just
How
being
many years? How many years have you been friends?
around 10 years.
Wow,
Yeah, we're like 15, 16. Yeah.
that's
Well,
great.
in your young life, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
we got
nice.
like a bit disconnected when I moved states, but
But pandemic helped to bring us back
I
together.
There you go.
appreciate that she's still my friend.
Yeah.
Together
was-
again.
Like, thank you for inviting me. I didn't know what this was about.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's
We don't
funny,
either.
funny just talking about like with people you don't know, and now I can I don't even know your lives, but like it's nice to talk about subjects and know like different points of view. Like you are in other places, like with other society, and I don't know. It's great to know how every other society thinks. Thank you
Yeah.
for inviting me.
Well, Vanya knows a little bit about us. So you can always ask her if you are interested.
Thank you.
Take good care, and you are always welcome to come back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
Just tell Vanya. Just
Yeah.
tell Vanya.
Yeah,
Okay.
Vanya is
absolutely.
the chief organizer.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Nice
Thank you.
weekend, all.